Welcome to the channel, guys. So we've had one heck of a day with the Supreme Court. Mail-in ballots didn't turn out the way I personally thought it would. Amy Coney Barrett went off the deep end and voted with Roberts and the three leftists on the Supreme Court and decided that the states can, technically they have to have it postmarked, but we've seen how that operates in reality and what they do with it. But that pales in comparison to what actually happened today. The Supreme Court came up with this decision, Humphrey's 100-year-old ruling, which limited the president's ability to fire employees in what we would call the deep state. And that's what entrenched Washington, D.C. is. And understand, anyone who, executes any executive authority, which is vested in the president, is fireable from this moment on. This is a generational decision that was made today. It makes Trump the most powerful president in any of our lifetimes, certainly within 100 years, and it clears the way for him to clean up the swamp for good. Under Humphrey's, and I'm going to get into it, you had to show cause, and there's a couple other stipulations to get rid of people, and you couldn't get rid of anybody. You couldn't fire anybody. So entrenched DC was always there. Not anymore. Trump is vested with the power, and there's actually a vesting clause in the Constitution, which basically says that the executive branch, which that's the closest we get to a king. Okay, you've got the legislative, which 100 senators, 435 House of Representative congressmen. You've got the judiciary. That's all over thousands of members. But the executive branch, that's one man. And what they did was pervert that in Humphrey's with the decision in 1935 and give these guys protection. And they created a permanent political class in DC. And we've all seen the effects of that in our lifetime. I'd appreciate if you subscribe, like, and share. It's really a boost to the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. So let's get into what's actually happened here. The Supreme Court's ruling 6-3 today. So just the three, liberal justices dissented. Trump versus Slaughter vastly expands the president's authority by allowing the at-will firing of heads and commissioners of independent federal regulatory agencies without the need to show cause by explicitly overturning Humphrey's 91-year-old decision. The court eliminated historical statutory protections that shielded leaders of these powerful multi-member commissions from political removal. The core changes to presidential firing power. It ends at will protection. Presidents can now dismiss independent agency heads simply due to policy disagreements. They no longer need to provide cause, such as inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance. Those are the other two reasons of cause. It validates the Unitary executive theory. Justice Roberts wrote that because these independent boards exercise executive functions like rulemaking and enforcement, the Constitution requires them to answer directly to the president. This reshapes independent agencies. Dozens of agencies, long considered insulated from politics, are now effectively structured as purely executive branches. The affected agencies, while the specific case centered on President Trump's removal of the Federal Trade Commissioner, Rebecca Slaughter, the ruling applies broadly across the executive branch. Leaders at the following agencies are now vulnerable to at-will termination: Federal Trade Commission, Federal Securities and Exchange Commission, the National Labor Relations Board, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the Merit Systems Protection Board, and the critical exception they carved out, of course, is the Federal Reserve. So they didn't touch that today. They're not going to let anyone in the thinking is that, in a separate 5-4 ruling today, Trump versus Cook, the court blocked the immediate firing of Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. The majority decided that the Fed's unique role in guiding monetary policy requires distinct due process and historical insulation from partisan interference, sending her case back to the lower courts for factual review. The decision fundamentally alters how the federal bureaucracy operates, resulting in immediate real-world shifts. Immediate leadership changes. Incoming or sitting presidents can instantly purge holdover commissioners from previous administrations to install loyalists or allies aligned with the regulatory agenda. Regulatory environments for businesses ranging from labor to finance to environmental enforcement will become significantly more volatile and deeply tied to the political party that occupies the White House. So this is just, like I said before, it's a generationally huge decision. This imbues President Trump with the power to literally drain the swamp. What we've all wanted for, many years. Now that's a possibility. And I would imagine that Trump will very expeditiously start to use this power and clean up DC, because we all know the entire deep state is aligned with the Democratic Party and with the left side of the aisle. So there are more people than I can even fathom that need to be fired. And now they can be by the president, and it's totally legal. And the left isn't talking about this at all. They're celebrating their mail-in ballot win, I guess you would call it. But I got to say, if it was a choice between this decision and the mail-in ballots, I'd take this one in a second, because if we don't clean up entrenched DC and the deep state, we're sunk in the long run. So this is extremely heartening that we will now have a chance to move forward as a republic with people who are loyal to the president that we elect. Guys, I thought this was great news. I wanted to bring it to you. Have a wonderful day. I'd like to hear what you think about it. Please put a comment down below, share the video. Have a wonderful day. God bless.